Are you a movie buff? Do you love dissecting and analyzing your favorite films? Look no further than the Projection Booth podcast. Join host Mike White and a bevy of guest experts as they explore the history, themes, and legacy of cult classics, obscure gems, and mainstream hits. Join us every week for a unique and engaging look at your favorite movies. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and tune in to the Projection Booth podcast, available on all major podcast platforms.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, creeps. It's me, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, and you're listening to Chronicles from the Crypt.
Hello, kiddies. It's me, Chris Stashew, otherwise known as Casualty Chris.
And this is Father Malone.
One day I'll get you to do the voice.
Oh, that'll be something. Maybe the next episode.
But that day is not today.
Could be. We'll see.
And we are the hosts of Chronicles from the Crypt, a twice-a-month look at the horror anthology series Tales from the Crypt that aired on HBO, though they might not even know that at this point, from 1989 to 1996.
Now, on each of our podcasts, we do 2 episodes of Tales from the Crypt, and in between seasons, we tend to do little bonus episodes about some tangentially related Tales ephemera, but that's not what we're here for today. We are in Season 6. I'm so excited to talk about what we're talking about today.
Yeah, because we're talking about 2 episodes, one of which we've actually already seen, and the other one is, again, not really Tales from the Crypt. We're talking about Revenge is the Nuts and The Bribe.
Thanks, pal. For nothing. I tell you, kiddies, things are tough all over. What with my expenses going up, and suddenly finding out I owe the IRS a fortune, your pal the Crypt Keeper's had to find himself a second job. Still, it's worse for the people in tonight's terror tale. It concerns a group of inmates at the local home who've got a few horrid choices of their own to make. I call it Revenge is the Nuts.
So Revenge is the Nuts aired November 16th, 1994. It is directed by Jonas McCord, written by Shel Willens. It stars Anthony Zerba, Teri Polo, John Savage. Isaac Hayes is in there, folks.
Black Moses.
Oh my God, Isaac Hayes. Yeah, dude. Truck Turner, brother.
Mm-hmm.
And this episode is about a bunch of blind folks at a blind home who turn the tables on their cruel, I guess,
administrator. All right, now...
we've seen this before. This was on the first Tales from the Crypt movie that we watched so long ago.
Yes, that's one of the bonus episodes. We did not Vaultivar. We did Tales from the Crypt, the Amicus production from 1972 that included this story. It was the capper for the entire film. Now, interestingly, Revenge is the Nuts is not a Tales from the Crypt original story. It is Vault of Horror number 20, written by Bill Gaines and Al Feldstein, and drawn by the amazing Graham Ingalls. Now, this episode is super weird, Chris, because it is Revenge of the Nuts. Revenge is the Nuts.
Revenge of the Nuts.
Revenge of the Nuts.
Revenge of the Nuts.
Like Revenge of the Nerds.
Of the Nuts is the sequel. It's the sequel to Revenge of the Nerds. Revenge of the Nuts.
Revenge of Lunatics. Okay, the interesting thing here is the story that we saw in the original Tales from the Crypt film is called Blind Alleys. And there is a Tales from the Crypt story called Blind Alleys, where you have a group of blind people who are in a home who are being mistreated by their administrator, and then they enact a revenge by trapping him and building a maze of tiny corridors lined with razor blades. And he has a dog that is completely feral by that point in the story, that they're going to sick on him. So he's going to have to run through the darkness, getting stabbed by razor blades and being eaten by his dog. Okay? However, Revenge is the Nuts is not the story. Revenge is the Nuts as a story in Vault of Horror concerns an insane asylum where the administrator there, and it's a period piece, so it takes place probably in the 18th, 19th century, and he is incredibly cruel to them. He just keeps baiting them and having them lashed and taking away basic human needs from them. By the end, he has tortured one particular patient so much that the rest of the inmates know if they get this guy alone and sick this patient on him, that patient is going to tear him apart, which is what happened. So what we end up here with an episode is kind of an amalgam of two stories, even though it's credited to one. Because, as I said, Blind Alleys is a sort of very straightforward tale of these blind people stuck in a home where they have no control, and this guy just keeps taking away things based on budgetary means only. He's not, I mean, ultimately his actions are cruel, but he's not out there agitating them. Revenge is the Nuts, on the other hand, as a story, you did have an agitator who is just fucking with everybody all the time, but that was an insane asylum. I don't know. I mean, let's talk about the episode itself, but as far as its progenitors here, what's weird is they aired on the side of Blind Alleys, but they credit it to the other story, so I'm not sure where they're coming from. Let's talk about the episode itself. I wonder how successful you thought it was.
I think it worked well enough. I mean, there wasn't much to it. It seemed pretty straightforward. There's not really a twist ending, because you know that this guy is going to get his comeuppance. Teri Polo is good enough. I haven't seen her in a whole lot. I mean, I've seen her in, obviously, Meet the Parents, but, like, she's okay. Anthony Zerba is just kind of doing Anthony Zerba things. Isaac Hayes is in it just enough. Like, it's okay, right? It doesn't break the mold. It doesn't do anything unexpected. That's for sure.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Actually, just in comparison to the original movie that we saw, this is a massive failure.
Yeah, I mean, since we've already seen it, like, that's the real problem, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to adapt something that's already been adapted, you better be ready to go. And this isn't that. It's just like on a purely technical level, I think it's okay. It feels really set bound, which is a problem I have with most Tales from the Crypt episodes.
Oh, it is so obviously on a set.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell they just, the paint is still drying.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not saying the performances are bad, but on a different technical level, just as far as drama goes, you're dealing with a home for the blind. It's a state-run home for the blind, so these people are kept there, which is unusual. But there's only 4 inmates, really. And it makes me wonder, like, how are they even getting funding that there's only 4 people in this home in the middle of nowhere? Anthony Zerbe, I love him. I think he's appropriately creepy here. My favorite role of his of all time, he was in The Omega Man with Charlton Heston, the adaptation of I Am Legend, where he's super freaky and creepy in that. I think he does a good job being the creeper. I like John Savage. I've always liked him. His sort of first big claim to fame was in the musical Hair with Treat Williams. I think he's very sympathetic here. As you said, Teri Polo is just kind of okay. She kind of gets the job done.
She's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like she was offensive in her performance at all.
No, and she's, I mean, ultimately, on top of everything else, she's really not given a whole lot to do. Like, just on the face of it, she's not given much to do. She comes in as kind of the outside force for good. She ends up helping Isaac Hayes and Bibi Besh, like, overcome the Anthony Zerba character, but, like... it's not much. It's just not much. And again, having already seen this story once within the last, I don't know, I mean, on this podcast, we've already seen this story. So the problem when you have something like that, and I know you would agree with me, is as soon as I've already seen it before, all I'm ever going to do is compare it to that.
Yeah, and
end of story, period.
It suffers by comparison because they treated that original story like really seriously, and you felt the pain of all of these inmates as they one by one were falling by the wayside because of this goddamn prick running the show. This one, he is the administrator of Anthony Zerbe's character is appropriately creepy enough. Like, that's not the right word, but clearly
he's doing the shtick well.
He really is. And like his demands, which is here, he wants to sort of curry sexual favor with Teri Polo to benefit everyone. That I thought was definitely creepy enough given the scenario we've been given to justify what comes later. But yeah, it just ultimately doesn't really add up to much. As much time as what we've got here is a 30-minute character piece where we've only got about 6 characters total, one of whom doesn't even speak until the end. So the fact that we didn't delve a little more deeply into their lives is a problem for me, because in the original story, which is maybe 20 minutes long, if that, I felt everything that everyone was doing. And they're somehow able to convey that in a much more efficient and elegant way than what we end up with here. Here it's just a kind of a random revenge story. Very predictable. And not at all. What's funny is in the original Tales from the Crypt adaptation, the film, as much as an asshole as the guy was, like, I felt his peril at the end.
Right. I
couldn't relate to him as a human, but I could relate as a human to what he was about to go through, and it freaked me out. Here, it's just like, we've got one little hallway and a dog that's barking at him, and nothing seems to be all that frightening, and I don't know, the stakes just didn't seem as high.
Well, the fact that it was only one hallway is the big bummer, right? They don't put him through the paces.
Yeah, like in the original story, there's a very tense sequence where he's navigating his way through one hallway and then realizes there's a whole other hallway. And he makes his way mostly down that before he realizes that the dog is there. And what we certainly didn't get, and it's much more appropriate in the original, is we didn't kind of get the moment where he opens the door and gets his comeuppance vocally from his antagonists, or, he's the antagonist, so I guess the protagonist. But a moment of dismissal and haha, you're going to get what you deserve. In the original, they had kept that dog in a separate room for days and days and days. No one was going to go near it because whoever did was going to get eaten. Here they just have the dog on a leash and it's barking a little bit. If it's actually that rabid, then it would have bitten any of them.
Yeah, exactly. Look, if you've never seen the original movie version of this story, maybe you like this version. Maybe.
And you wouldn't be wrong. I'm not saying that.
I don't know if you've never seen this before, if this is a good adaptation of the story.
It ain't great.
No, it's not. It's really not, and that's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. But again, I mean, it's just look, ultimately, this is just keeping in line with what we've seen so far in season 6.
Good enough, right? The motto of the production team at Tales from the Crypt. Good enough.
Yeah, just good enough, and it doesn't matter. So speaking of just good enough, let's talk about the next episode, The Bribe.
My fellow Americans, I'm running for office because I think the political process needs a little stiff competition. It needs no leadership. It needs someone like me in the White House.
But, you may ask, aren't there a few skeletons in your closet? Sure there are. And a vampire or two, and a werewolf. What of it? At least I'm not like the man in tonight's terror tale. He's a fire inspector who's about to learn the difference between rot and wrong. I call it The Bribe.
So The Bribe aired November 23rd, 1994. It is directed by Ramon Menendez. It is written by friend of Father Malone. Unfortunately, he has passed away, Scott Nimmerfro. And it stars Terry O'Quinn. Benicio del Toro is in this episode, of all people. Sure. And Kimberly Williams Paisley. And Terry O'Quinn plays Martin Zeller, a fire inspector who takes a bribe from a strip club owner so that his daughter can go to college. Supposedly.
Yeah, okay.
This episode is atrocious.
Oh, really?
I think it's atrocious because it's not a fucking Tales from the Crypt story. I mean, we're getting to the point with this show now where this is a Twilight Zone story. This is such a Twilight Zone story. The twist at the end is so obvious and so played out. Oh my God, he has the thing in his hand. It's like, and then he's going to go make some rash decision. And as the blood is creeping towards the phone or the answering machine, his daughter calls him. Like, this is so generic. It's not even funny.
I liked it. Okay.
But you have to agree, all of my criticisms are 100% valid.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not arguing with any of you.
See, and that's my point. Even if you like it, it's not like I'm saying, well, Terry O'Quinn is a bad actor. No, I'm saying XYZ are real issues that this episode has, and they're problems that if you overlook them, you can like it. If you can't overlook them like I can't, then you're not going to be a fan of the episode. And I think that realistically, that is the truth behind this show. And the truth behind a lot of anthology series is because it's a 26, 27-minute episode, because sometimes it feels like they're hot-shotting stories like they did with this or the last one. You have these stories that don't land, but if you can overlook the, warts and problems, then it's decent. But if you can't overlook it, then you get stuff like this.
I can't disagree with you. I will say, however, as pointed out, this is in fact not in any way a Tales from the Crypt story. This comes from Shock Suspense Stories, number 7, written by Bill Gaines and Al Feldstein, as most of the original stories were, and drawn, as I pointed out recently as well, by the amazing Wally Wood. Wally Wood is one of the most unsung cartoonists and comic book artists of all time. I highly encourage you just to Google any of his work because you'll become a fan. The episode itself, the original story is almost exact. There's no strip club necessarily, and the daughter hasn't been engaging in sort of illicit activities. It's more about a nightclub that he's trying to close down, which I think kind of, for the original story, is based on the Coconut Grove situation in Boston in the early part of the century. There was a nightclub where fire marshals ignored how many people were in there. They also ignored how many exits were possible, and a fire ignited. There was only really one egress from the building, and, hundreds of people died. So I think that's where this story is coming from initially. It follows the other story almost, or rather, the episode follows the story almost perfectly other than that, where it's a fire inspector. He needs money for in this case, his daughter's wedding, because the bride's family pays for the wedding and they want a huge wedding because they're wealthy. So he accepts a bribe from the nightclub. The nightclub ends up burning down. He thinks his daughter was involved in it, kills himself, and then it turns out that she had left earlier than that, and irony is good for the blood. But there are some things in this episode I like a lot. First and foremost being the amazing Teri O'Quinn.
Oh, I mean, Teri O'Quinn is just... we could not say enough good things about Teri O'Quinn.
No.
Oh, shit.
Is there anyone...
Howard Hughes.
Yeah, man. Is there anyone working today that can pull off righteousness more than Teri O'Quinn? I don't think so. Because, righteousness as a concept is slippery to hold on to. But when he's being righteous, I believe him 100%, which is what he's doing for most of this episode. And I've seen him do it a lot. There's just something so incredibly, and it might not be the case, he might be a complete asshole, but he pulls off decency pretty much better than any actor working today. And he's certainly putting that on display here.
Well, that, again, like I mentioned Howard Hughes, like he played Howard Hughes in one of my favorite movies, The Rocketeer. And he has that same like air about him in that movie. Obviously he's a protagonist in that film, not an antagonist, but he still has that to his character. And he plays it so well. He's one of these few people who, if I was given the opportunity to interview him, there would be so many things I would want to ask him about. Because he was on the X-Files, he was on Roswell, he was in the X-Files movie, he was in The Rocketeer, he was in The Stepfather, he was on Lost. I mean, this guy has been working nonstop, if you look at his IMDb credits, since the 80s, nonstop work. And I feel like every time I've seen him in something... he's amazing. He was in Twilight Zone, too. in the episode Chameleon.
Absolutely. He was really good in that.
Yeah, he was.
The sort of sense of wonder that episode was attempting to convey clumsily, he was able to sum up just through facial expressions. You mentioned he was in the X-Files and he was in the X-Files movie. I know his character was named Special Agent Michaud. How do I know that? Because he impressed me so much in his, 3-minute scene of sacrifice that I thought, oh, Jesus Christ, who's that guy? He was also, I don't know if you mentioned, but he was on the television series Millennium, the other Chris Carter
he sure was.
show, where in that he is the lead character's connection to this mysterious Millennium group. In the second season, it became apparent that the Millennium group themselves were the problem, that they were the actual antagonist of the show. And he still managed, when the lead character was figuring that out, to convince maybe not even him, but more me as a viewer that what they were doing was righteous and good. Terry O'Quinn is an amazing actor. Obviously, John Locke on Lost. I think most people know him from that. People talk about gravitas with people. Rarely comes across. With Terry O'Quinn, it's every single time. I've never seen a poor performance from him.
Tell Mr. President, the dream is over. That line has stuck with me my entire life. I don't know why. But it probably has to do with the fact that it's Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah, I mean...
And you know what? Even he can't elevate this episode.
He can't. Okay, I do want to say a couple other things that I actually did.
He tries. He tries.
He tries really hard.
He really tries.
No question. I will say that, you mentioned my buddy Scott. He wrote this episode. He wrote a portion of the Tales from the Crypt episodes in general. Most of them have been comedic episodes, which has never been his forte. This is a little bit closer to why I like him as a writer, because as formulaic as the story ends up being, it's never not true as far as dramatics and dialogue. That all seems pretty spot on to me. His level of humor is not mine. He kind of skewed more absurdist than I'm not necessarily comfortable with, but more accepting. I think dramatically this episode works. Like, I kind of actually liked the tone of how serious it is, but then I tend to do that with most episodes on the series. I liked enough of the script that I was able to enjoy myself while watching it without sort of appreciating it as a whole, because the twist is kind of lame and telegraphed from the get-go. The other thing I do want to mention, actually, two things. First of all, the music was done by Pray for Rain. I don't know if you know them, but Pray for Rain, one of my favorite bands of all time. They're kind of in the Tangerine Dream category. They did a lot of, they did music on Sid and Nancy. They did a music for a film called Roadside Prophets. Their music, sort of in general, always is something that I can find I can put on in the background and listen to, sort of appreciate. So, and I like the music in this episode. The other thing is, the director on this particular one does a little bit of theatricality, which is always interesting to see when it's done in a cinematic medium, where they go to Terry O'Quinn's apartment, which as soon as they got in there, I was like, really? Are we just getting another set? Are you fucking kidding me? And then his girlfriend, his daughter, goes into her bedroom behind a wall, and then that wall becomes opaque, which is, the oldest sort of theatrical bit of trickery you can do. And for some reason, it really grabbed my attention, and I appreciate it. I'm not saying this episode is good overall. I'm just saying there were certain things that, to me, elevated it above the ones that are even more technically slick, that kind of don't give a shit and are just playing around in the Tales from the Crypt sandbox.
Oh, I get it. I mean, it's I don't like this episode, but it's better than the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we mentioned Benicio del Toro's in this episode. He pretty much does nothing. Max Grodenchik is in this episode. He's a fantastic character actor, also in The Rocketeer, which is weird.
That is weird.
Terry O'Quinn and Max Grodenchik are both in this episode, but yeah. Again, it just comes back to this issue that I have of, this is Tales from the Crypt. This doesn't feel like a Tales from the Crypt episode, and it feels just good enough.
Can we get a walking corpse, for Christ's sake?
Can we get something supernatural?
How about a monster that's starting fires? Oh, by the way, that's the other scene that I liked, and that's not in the original comic book. The fact that Terry O'Quinn is the one who initiates the fire. He goes and finds a known pyromaniac and convinces him that he has to go burn this place down. That, to me, was the twist I was kind of looking for, because the other twists are from the comic and are kind of, as I said, telegraphed and rather obvious. But The fact that he sets it in motion based on his own guilt, like that to me was pretty spectacular. That's kind of why I like Scott as a writer.
Yeah, that is kind of the best part of the episode.
Easily.
But other than that, not great.
No, look, ultimately, both of these episodes, I'm saying you can go ahead and skip them, and you're not going to, you won't tarnish your feeling on what Tales from the Crypt is supposed to be. These are just middle of the road episodes. Not the worst. I don't hate them, but not to the level of where they can be sometimes.
So on that note, on the next episode of Chronicles from the Crypt, we're going to be taking a look at episodes 7 and 8 of Season 6, The Pit and the Assassin. The Pit features Mark Dacascos, otherwise known as Chairman Kaga's nephew from Iron Chef America, as a pit fighter, or a martial arts fighter, whatever the hell you want to call it, a fighter, who's fighting another guy to the death. And The Assassin is quite possibly the most offensive episode of this show. But we'll get to it when we talk about it. Until then, where can people find you, Father Malone?
Go check out my YouTube channel, Ot5 Films, OUGHTFIVEFILMS. I have a lot of content there. You can also hear me over on the Twilight Zone 85 podcast, Dreams for Sale. And about once a month or so, you can also check me out on Chris's other show, Culturecast.
And as for myself, follow me on Twitter at Casualty_Chris. All the podcasts that I'm on are there. Scary Stories We Tell, One Season Show, Dreams for Sale, they're all there. Check me out on Twitter if that's a thing that interests you. If not, I totally get it. Social media, especially these days, is kind of a landmine, a minefield. So I don't blame you if you don't follow me on Twitter. Also, follow the podcast on Twitter at Chronicles FTC. We are also on Instagram at Chronicles FTC. ChroniclesFromTheCrypt.com is where you can find the rest of the episodes. We are on all podcatchers, iOS and Android. Leave us a good review. Every little bit helps. Big thanks as always to John Kassir for the intro to the podcast, and we'll catch you on the next episode, kiddies.